Let's talk about body weight gain as a new lifter. There seems to be like two different camps that people fall into when it comes to this. And there kind of has to be a middle ground too, which I think is really where I'm at as a coach. So there's one side of this when you get a new lifter on, and let's just say this is the average guy. It's not like if you're already like obese or overweight, this doesn't apply to you. This is more for like that skinny fat type individual of average height, average build, average age, middle-aged, younger, right? And there's two camps. There's the one camp which is kind of due to a lot of misinterpretation in a particular chapter of the Blue Book, where everybody thinks that like starting strength is about just getting fat as fuck and then adding weight to the bar with no worry about body composition whatsoever. But if you actually read the chapter, there's very specific marks that you should maybe aim for or be wary of. Like getting over 20% body fat. That's kind of when you start getting into the fat stage, right? Now, the other side of that is kind of a newer thing that is going on with a lot of more physique oriented coaches, and many of them who I've had a relationship with and fully respect what they do. But you see them recommending the average guy to cut down to a very lean body weight. So maybe go from that skinny fat 23-24% down to like a 10 to 12% body fat, and then try to build up from there. Now, that cut is relatively easy. You increase activity, you track calories, you do a lot of movement, you lift, and yeah, you make some gains, especially if you're new, right? And that's perfectly fine. Now, there's the back end of that, of what happens when you get there. Do you start increasing calories, increasing the intensity that you train, and you build up, and where do you end up at, is the question, okay? Now, my approach for most people that are new to the gym and new to training in this spot is for you to start training, focus on getting strong, focus on fueling your body in a way that facilitates muscle growth and performance in the gym. So we're not trying to aggressively cut immediately, and we're not trying to permabulk and become fat as fuck, okay? We are purely focused on the performance under the bar, and that typically does mean some body weight gain. So that 180-pound guy who he wants to get big and strong, but he kind of wants to look a little bit better too, well, we're going to get a bunch of protein in, a bunch of good calories in. We're going to make those changes. He's going to get under the bar 3 days a week and work his bag off. And typically, that particular individual is going to look better after 6 to 12 months, where he gains 20, 30 pounds of body weight. All of a sudden, that 180-pound guy who thought he needed to lose 30 pounds because he's listening to online influencers telling them that he needs to cut, all of a sudden looks, feels, performs better at 20 to 30 pounds of body weight or more. Now, with that, he's gotten exceptionally strong. A lot of those lifters get their deadlifts up from a beginning weight of 185 or 200, and now they're between 400 to 500 pound deadlifts, maybe more. And you have one chance as a lifter to push those lifts up to an exceptional level. A lot of us coaches have done that. We have just gone on an absolute strength bender where the sole purpose is seeing how strong we can get on the bar. Getting your lifts up to an exceptional level. And then you can start and cut and do whatever thing else that you're wanting to do. Myself is a great example. At one point, I was up to nearly 250 pounds. That's where all of my best lifts happened. At 6'4", and there's some camps where like that's lighter than I should have been. I should have maybe gotten up to, say, 275, 300. Like if I really wanted to maximize my strength potential, that's where I needed to go. But I wanted to do some other things. I wanted to start focusing on jiu-jitsu and being competitive in that. And then adding in running, this kind of hybrid athletard thing that I am talking about. But that strength gain that I built, ignoring my abs, ignoring, a little bit of body fat added along the way with a ton of muscle mass and strength, that has allowed me as an individual to perform better in all the stuff that I'm doing right now. And if you don't go through that process, your performance peak and everything else may not end up as high. Okay, so if you're insisting, a couple other things, you're insisting on staying lean, just know that your gains from a strength and physique perspective are going to be slower. A really good example of this is people will say, I don't want to be more than 185 pounds, but I want to hit a 600-pound deadlift, a 500-pound squat, 300-pound, 315 bench. And it's like, yeah, okay, maybe you can do that. Maybe if you train right, it's going to take a fucking decade for you to hit those numbers, to accumulate the mass, doing it in a lean way. And if that's what you want to do, that's fine. But there's the other side of that where you can, if you eat and fuel properly and you train properly and you dedicate a lot of time, a smaller period of time to getting strong, you can hit that 500-600-pound deadlift, that 400-500-pound squat, that 300-pound bench over the course of a couple years. And then you have that muscle mass and you have that strength and you have that bigger gas tank that you can now utilize for the next 8 years on whatever else that you're wanting to do, versus you taking your time and trying to stay lean and, taking pictures of yourself in front of the mirror every day and posting them online. So it's all about trade-off and what you want to do. I have zero issue with somebody if they want to do that. If you want to stay lean, make really slow incremental gains over the course of a decade, that's fine. If you're somebody who wants to test yourself and really hit the extreme from a strength end and have the capacity to do a bunch of other stuff in a shorter period of time, it is well worth your time to dedicate a good small chunk of your training career over the course of a couple years to make sure that you put on as much mass and strength as you possibly can to set the stage for everything else. So that was just kind of my little coffee espresso rant, but hopefully that helps you in your decision making on how you want to go about your training. You just have to know that there's trade-offs to whichever direction that you're going to go.